Hey, welcome you on in here to the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell and Mitchell Balla here to give you the latest in the world of athletics. Mitch, it's good to be back here. We have a number of things to talk about this week. We also have the start of one of the best weekend events here coming up down in Georgia.
Mitch, good to be back with you. Yeah, lots to talk about here. And, Mother Nature didn't cooperate recently, but man, oh man, had it been a beautiful start to the week to get out and see some area baseball and softball games around here with this almost summer-like feeling. I think it was like 72 degrees the other night when some baseball was being played. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, Tuesday was definitely good, and then Wednesday just kind of brought us a different perspective of weather. So we'll get into that. We'll also get into some other stuff from around the sports world. And before we go into that, we want to remind you guys you can find us here on YouTube as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. You can also check us out on our website, BigTimeSportsOhio.com. And, you can find us at Big Time Sports Ohio on Instagram and Facebook, at BTS Ohio on Twitter, and at Mitch Spinell and at Mitchell Balla pretty much everywhere else. I mean, Mitch, we talked about some of these local games, a lot of them happening on Tuesday when the weather was able to clear up a little bit. It started to feel a little more like summer in the early stages of spring. And we had a number of games go down to the wire, a number of ones in your area, a number of ones in my area. What were some of the ones that people, especially in Starr County, should have been taking some viewership in?
Well, Mitch, for Federal League Baseball, there was no games on Wednesday because of the weather, but
Right.
there were still some games played, and that leads me to the first game because it deserves a lot of attention. Val Fisk is a pitcher at Alliance who dealt his first career no-hitter for the Aviators of Alliance in a 12-0 win over Southeast on Wednesday night. Just a dominating performance from him. Goes the distance. Obviously, it was a 5-inning game with the run rule in effect and Alliance up 12-0. However, just a ton of just credit and attention needed on Val Fisk because it sounds like this is a player in the high school level, Mitch, that has the ability to do this more times throughout the rest of his high school career. So that's where we start there. Alliance beating Southeast 12-0. When we go to some baseball scores around here, you had West Branch and Minerva. West Branch beating Minerva 13-8. Carrollton and Marlington squared off. Carrollton with a 5-0 win over Marlington. And then looking back to Tuesday, we go back to the baseball side of things and hop into the Federal League. Jackson and Glen Oak played. Glen Oak coming into the week 1-1 Federal League play, 2-1 overall. Jackson 7-0 overall, 6-0 overall, 2-0 in Federal League play. And Mitch, we had a very entertaining game. It was back and forth, a 2-0 Jackson lead, a 4-2 Glen Oak lead. Then it was 4-all, and Jackson getting a 4 spot then in the bottom of the third inning to then take an 8-4 lead. That is all Jackson would score. Glen Oak would tack on 1 in the top of the 6th. Almost 2. Jackson had a tremendous relay play on a ball that was hit to center field off the top of the fence and fell. Center fielder Carter Motice to Hogan Sedlock to catcher Kyle Carey tagged out another would-be run for Glen Oak to end the inning on a play at the plate. So instead of it being at that time 8-6, it remained 8-5. Glen Oak tacked 1 on in the top of the 7th. Final score there 8-6. So Jackson remains unbeaten Federal League play. Those two teams now square off on Thursday night at Glen Oak after the rain out on Wednesday. Hoover, Mitch, 2-1 now in Federal League play after an 11-3 win over McKinley on Tuesday night. And how about the starting pitcher, Mason Billy, for the Vikings? He is now 2-0. He's gone 6 innings in both starts. The first win over Glen Oak last week, 8-1. And now this win over McKinley, 11-3. Mason Billy is a West Liberty baseball recruit. That is a Division II school in the Mountain East Conference. Getting off to a great start, though, nonetheless, on the mound. And that's a very big thing for Hoover, who had a little bit of uncertainty of how to replace some innings they lost on the mound last year. Hoover and McKinley will be back at it tonight as well over at Thurman Munson Memorial Stadium. And then Lake jumping into their first action in Federal League play. Mitch, we mentioned Lake was the team in the Federal League last week that did not play any Federal League games. Obviously, one team is going to have a quote-unquote bye week every week with 7 teams in the league. Lake goes to Perry and beats Perry 10-0 in 5. It was a dominating performance there for the Blue Streaks, who pounded out 11 hits, scoring their 10 runs. Perry just limited to 2 hits there. Hunter Bays moves to 2-0. He is a Lake Erie College recruit for the Blue Streaks, a 3-year starter now for Lake, and that is a pitcher that the Blue Streaks are going to lean on heavily. The one Federal League team in baseball that was off from Federal League play, but still in action, was the Green Bulldogs. Green had taken on Brecksville this week. We touched on that Tuesday on our show on Tuesday, excuse me. And then Tuesday night, Green played Louisville at Louisville. Mitch, Louisville, a 1-0 winner over Green with a walk-off hit in the bottom of the seventh to beat Green. Louisville has 1 run on 5 hits in that game. Green, no runs on 4 hits. And really, Massillon then, obviously not in a league. They defeated Akron Firestone 6-0. They improved their record to 3-1. Fairless played in action. They took on Orville. They dropped a tough one to Orville. And then some other teams I know you can talk about, like Sandy Valley and Ridgewood, played on Tuesday. But one other team, or 2 other teams, excuse me, Alliance, before that no-hitter thrown earlier, or just yesterday actually, defeated Salem 7-1. And then Warren JFK defeated Canton Central Catholic 9-5. Central Catholic, after that game, fell to 2-3 overall.
All right. You mentioned that one game on Tuesday against Sandy Valley and Ridgewood. You had one where Trent Warden was able to rope and a walk-off RBI single in the bottom of the 7th that gave the Generals a 2-1 win in that game. And you take a look over at the baseball standings currently. Ridgewood is able to get their first victory, handing Sandy Valley a loss, while you have a pair of complete game performances from both squads, Chase Booth for Ridgewood, Luke Williams for Sandy Valley. Also on the baseball side, you had outside of the IVC, Minerva being beaten by West Branch 5-2. Bo Alazis, who went the distance in a 5-hit, 1-walk performance that had 7 strikeouts. He also had 2 RBIs at the plate. And then on Wednesday, a couple of games were able to get in there. We had Hayden Jenkins, excuse me, allowing 2 hits and a 5-0 shot for Carrollton over Marlington. And then Indian Valley was able to pick up their second win over Garaway in just a couple of days. This one a 9-2 victory in Janaden Hutton. The Braves remain unbeaten in IVC play as well as overall play. They had a pair of 4-run innings to give themselves the victory. Kel Kochman had allowed 2 runs on 5 hits in a complete game outing. He also had 3 singles and an RBI in the game. Brogan Bircher also had a double and a single for a ribby there. Now on softball side, a number of matchups that were very interesting from this past couple of days. Canaan Valley winning, Strasburg winning. But what's happening in Stark County, Mitch, on the softball side?
Well, let's start with Marlington, Mitch, who was actually in Kentucky for a few games. They actually played a doubleheader yesterday. They defeated Grant County from Kentucky 4-0, and then also defeated Elliott County from Kentucky 15-0. So the Lady Dukes of Marlington High School off to a nice start. Carrollton defeated East Liverpool 20-0. So a very dominant performance there from Carrollton in getting that nice win. And then we jump back to Tuesday's games, some more league action here in the Federal League. We start with Jackson and Glen Oak, both the baseball and softball teams taking each other on this week. Jackson with a walk-off 2-run home run from Julia Gossett. She is one of the top players in the area, Mitch. I believe a Purdue recruit for local area softball talent. She not only got the win on the mound, but then made sure she got that win by hitting a 2-run home run to walk things off at Jackson on Tuesday night to defeat Glen Oak 6-5. Jackson is now 2-1 and 2-0 in Federal League play after defeating Perry last week. You had Alliance defeating Salem in softball on Tuesday night 10-1. Canton South picks up a win over St. Vincent St. Mary 4-3. Some other scores around here. I believe we had Perry and Green square off. And Green defeated Perry 9-0 in softball. Last night, we were supposed to have Green and Hoover softball play. I don't have a score in front of me, so I have to imagine that game was started, but then the rain washed them out, as it most likely did for anybody trying to play baseball or softball in Northeast Ohio last night.
Very, very cool. And we mentioned before, Strasburg and Canaan Valley remain atop the IVC in their respective softball standings. Spidell, we just saw in Big Time Sports just a couple of nights ago. You can find that broadcast on BTS, BigTimeSportsOhio.com, a 10-3 victory for Strasburg over the Saints, in which Spidell pitched a complete game, allowing 3 runs on 5 hits while totaling 11 strikeouts. She also got 3 hits on the game. Olivia Spidell, 2 games now, Mitch, that Spidell has had a particular hit short of the cycle. In this game, she had a home run, a triple, and a single, 2 total RBIs. Sydney Cibola added a pair of hits for the Tigers as well. And yeah, Connaughton Valley has been traveling a little bit. They just took on a Pennsylvania school, Cardinal O'Hara, in which Maisie Baker and Madison Kelly were able to combine for a shutout 8-0 victory over Cardinal. And the Rockets have just been dominant so far this season offensively. Now, for other schools, we had East Canton taking on Malvern in a matchup that ended off 16-12 with the visiting Hornets. They were in Malvern that night. So the visiting Hornets were able to play a couple of early runs. They're up 13-5 after 5. And then Malvern had their own 5-inning run inning to cut the lead to 14-10. They just couldn't quite make the full comeback. And then you had Garaway mercying Tusky Valley yesterday. I mean, it was Kayla Miller and Jordan Kime each homering for the Pirates as they were able to win. Bella Tetrault is now 4-0 on the season. And then Dover able to mercy Canton Central Catholic 10-0 last night in 5 innings. Addie Martin scoring 3 runs, hit a home run of her own and a double. You had Jenna Mulk allowing just 1 hit in those 5 frames while recording 10 Ks. While Violet Ellerbrock took the brunt of the game for the Crusaders on the mound. I mean, that is a rundown of what we've been seeing in the spring side. Now, Mitch, there was a very interesting story that popped up earlier this week, and we saw the report from the Canton Repository. It's a bit of a surprise move for Perry High School on the basketball side, the boys' basketball side in particular, as Mickey Saban will not be returning as head coach of the Panthers basketball program after just 1 season. He came over from Tuscarawas Central Catholic this past season along with his son Xander, and the Panthers finished 6-17. They had a 10-game losing streak. Saban, the younger Saban, was injured for a good portion of that before coming back later in the year, and they didn't make much of a splash in the postseason. But I'm a little surprised by this. Is this more so a case of, I mean, what do you think Perry's process was in not renewing Saban for a second year?
Well, Mitch, you're not the only one surprised. And you mentioned where he came from. So a lot of our listeners and viewers and followers of Big Time Sports are aware of Mickey Saban just from his time down in Tuscarawas County. He was very shocked. He, and I quote, was blindsided by it like a lot of people. I think the players were shocked by this. I think a lot of community members were shocked. And I know a lot of members in the Federal League around the area were shocked by this too, because it's not like he was an assistant they just brought up. This is a coach that left a program he had coached at for a couple of years. And Mitch, he moved his entire family up here. He wanted to come back to where he went to high school, which was Perry High School. He thought it was a great move. He took Xander Saban, you mentioned, who dealt with some frustration of the season with a wrist injury suffered at Jackson. It actually was never cleared, but was so frustrated, he cut his own cast off and resumed playing, which is pretty remarkable. And it really didn't hinder him. But for a coach to move his entire family up here and not have his contract renewed after 1 season, and also have a job at Perry as a full-time custodian, which, reading the report, he did not have a job at Tuscarawas Central Catholic, is very, I don't know how to say, I don't want to say weird, because it's not weird, because typically most coaches have jobs at the respective school or within the district they're coaching at. It's just a very odd decision. And there's some things in there. We know Rick Rembliak, who is the current AD at Perry, is looking for a career change, will be out. You typically see this in pro sports, Mitch, when a new front office comes in, they want to go get their guy. Could this be an instance here in Perry where the new athletic director coming in, whoever it may be, because to my knowledge, it has not been named yet.
Right.
They want to allow him to go get his head coach. We'll see. At the same time, Mitch, and I'm not trying to put rumors out there, I don't think the door is necessarily closed on Mickey Saban. We saw this before, I believe, with East Canton just a year or so ago, firing their football coach or not renewing his contract.
Right.
And a lot of community backlash actually got him his job back because of how much the players loved him, the parents loved him, and the community loved him. So we'll have to wait and see. This is a very odd situation because you hardly ever see something like this. I feel for Coach Saban and his family, because obviously moving, he's obviously a father of 8. So moving 8 to a whole new school district to where you think you're going to be for a while, and it's your alma mater, only to be blindsided by it, like he said in this article, is very odd and different. And so we'll have to see what happens. But I do feel for the Saban family, and I am very interested to see where Perry goes, because like Coach Saban said, and like I know from just being up here, 2 years ago, Perry was extremely young. I would be willing to bet they were the youngest team in the area, not just the Federal League. and they were still young again this year, and they made improvements. I know 6-17 isn't a great season. They got hot at the end of the season, though, Mitch, picking up some nice wins. They had a run of consecutive wins over Central Catholic, Alliance, Hoover, and Marietta. We'll have to wait and see where they're going. I know head coach Mickey Saban, and he said in this article, and I quote, "We were going in the right direction and moving forward." We'll have to see what happens now.
We shall see. We'll see if which move Perry will be making for their upcoming basketball season. We will see you guys after this break here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Buying a home has never been so affordable with record low interest rates. Hartzler's Quality Housing is ready to put over 40 years of experience to work for you. Family owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's has a wide selection of model homes on site with a knowledgeable team to help make your new home a reality. Open 6 days a week, visit them off I-77 in Dover or online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris. Think Ferris.
You invest a lot in your home and vehicle purchases. Van Nostrand Young and Associates want you to feel secure should anything happen to those investments. We partnered with providers like Grange Insurance and other industry leaders to be sure you're presented with the most complete coverage to fit your needs. Because we're not only here to protect the items you invest in, we're here to protect your future as well.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level up. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Vibe Auto Sales, located on West High Avenue in New Philadelphia and Cleveland Avenue in Canton, is a used car dealership committed to getting financing for everyone. We give every customer that walks in our showrooms a prime buying experience, no matter their credit score or financial situation. Current inventory can be viewed at www.wefinancenow.com. Check out our Facebook pages for the most up-to-date information about upcoming events and promotions happening at Vibe Auto Sales.
Get out of the dugout and onto the field with help from Velocity Sports. Velocity Sports is a baseball and softball training academy with locations in North Canton and Canal Fulton. Our new Canal Fulton features 10,000 square feet of training space with 6 cages for hitting and pitching and a large commercial weight room. Velocity Sports will sharpen your skills and get you in the starting lineup. For more info, go to velosportsohio.com.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell and Mitchell Balla here. Mitch, we've been talking about the Guardians a little bit more now as the season has progressed, and we are now approaching the home opener after the Guardians have officially completed their road trip. They took 3 out of 4 in Seattle, and then they took 2 out of 3 against the Oakland Athletics, including an extra inning victory yesterday out in the Bay Area. So I've been very curious about the Guardians early on in the season. The team looks like they still have a lot of their good pitching in check. They were able to scratch together runs like they're able to last season. We just still have a lot of close games, so to say. There hasn't been quite a breakout game since maybe game number 2 of the season after the first loss. Since then, it's been pretty relatively close. A lot of lower scoring games and a lot of extra inning games that have eaten up a lot of the bullpen. But that being said, the team still looks like it's on a good little run right now heading into the return to Cleveland.
Absolutely, Mitch. When you looked at the schedule when it was released, you saw they were starting the West Coast. You saw they were starting with the team that made the playoffs last year in the Seattle Mariners, and it was, oh boy, the Mariners returned a lot, made an acquisition of Teoscar Hernandez in the offseason. This is a team that looks primed and loaded to make another run for the playoffs, and a team that had your number last year. You went 1-6 versus the Mariners. You saw it was a 7-game trip. To me, I thought, okay, if they can go 4-3 playing Oakland afterwards, you might be able to sweep them. I would be very, very pleased with a 4-3 start. 5-2, Mitch, I will take any day of the week. And it stinks a little bit because you may have been able to go 6-1 after the one loss to Oakland, but at the same time, it's early enough, and the Guardians are right where I was hoping they would be, which is in first place of the Central after the opening week of baseball at 5-2. Minnesota got off to that 4-0 start. They're now 4-2. They've lost 2 in a row. But Mitch, I think the biggest question mark for the Guardians was, what does Josh Bell look like? How does Mike Zunino do? And how is this pitching staff going to be able to fill in with the loss of Tristan McKenzie? And it was Hunter Gaddis. And Mitch, yesterday in Oakland, Hunter Gaddis had a very fine outing. 6 innings strong, 4 Ks, no runs. Hunter Gaddis looked really, really solid out there. And the key for him, Mitch, is he is a pitcher throughout his entire rise throughout the system who has relied on 2 pitches. He's a fastball changeup guy. The key for him to stay up here is developing a breaking ball. He threw it 3 times in his first outing this season against the Mariners. Yesterday, his curveball was on. It resulted in a couple strikeouts. It resulted in a lot of outs made by the defenders behind him. A very strong start for Hunter Gaddis that actually gives me a little bit of confidence with him moving forward. Obviously, he is no Tristan McKenzie. We know McKenzie is, from our standard, poised for a big year in the rotation behind Shane Bieber. But Mitch, if he pitches like he did yesterday, and yes, folks, I know it was against the Oakland A's, a team that a lot of you probably don't know anybody on that roster until yesterday when Jesus Aguilar hit a 3-run homer, because we remember his time here with the Cleveland Indians when he was in our system. I'm happy with it. I think my biggest question is issue is, you mentioned a lot of close games. The bullpen got taxed.
Yep.
And that was an issue. But Mitch, another name I want to throw out there is Xzavion Curry. He was phenomenal when called out of the bullpen in the 2nd inning in that game against Oakland the other night. Had a very strong outing. He was a rookie last year who came up and made his debut against the Tigers. Wasn't a great debut, but he is the one that really got a spot on the roster, because Hunter Gaddis was going to be in the bullpen if Tristan McKenzie was healthy. But Mitch, with these guys up here now, they're already getting valuable experience, and a lot of these guys are capitalizing. We know Sam Hentges is working his way back from injury. That's a big arm for us out of the bullpen. We saw some of the outs he got us last year down the stretch in the playoffs, the big lefty. Cody Morris is another player that's really rose through the farm system in Cleveland quickly. He's coming back from injury. When those 2 guys are back, if our bullpen keeps pitching like they are, the question is going to be, which guy are you going to have to send down? And it's always a difficult decision, but when you have difficult decisions like that, that's a good problem to have, because it means you have guys you can rely on later in the year if somebody else goes down to call right back up and put in the same spot. I'm happy with it, Mitch. My biggest thing is Josh Bell and Ahmed Rosario, to me, offensively, have been the 2 biggest disappointments so far. Josh Bell, I believe, has 2 hits so far in his 6 games he's played for the Guardians. I think he's pressing a little bit. You signed that big contract. Some people don't think it's a big factor, Mitch, but this is also a player that's played in the National League his entire life. Pittsburgh, Washington, and San Diego. Coming over to the American League, seeing new pitchers for the first time can be a little bit different. I have no worries. I think he'll be able to figure it out. I just think he's pressing a little bit and he just needed to get home to Cleveland. But what about you? Because I'm very happy with a 5-2 start to the season on the West Coast.
I can't complain. I mean, I've seen some of the matchups where this still young team is able to stay resilient in the latter stages of games. I mean, we looked at some of the blown opportunities by the bullpen. That bullpen's still able to settle down when needed, especially with what was it, Clase yesterday, who was able to get the save. Clase is an interesting one to me right now because when we went into the season, I figured, okay, Clase has a legitimate opportunity to stake his claim as the best closer in the American League, if not entirety of Major League Baseball, because Edwin Diaz is not going to be pitching this year. That being said, he gets it through his first 2 starts perfectly fine, but his velocity has been kind of down so far this season. And then he blows that save to Oakland in that 2-run home run to Seth Brown that the Guardians eventually won in extra innings the other night. Got his cutter up to around 99 or in that game. So it's like, okay, it's getting a little bit back there, but I'm wondering if this is any cause for concern at this very moment that Clase isn't up to quite the 100% that we saw out of him last year, where he was just phenomenal for most of the stretch.
And that's a very fair argument and reason for cause of concern, because when you lose velocity in Major League Baseball, it's a red flag. You look at a former Cleveland Indian. He wasn't here when we were the Guardians yet, I believe. Carlos Carrasco, Mitch, the other day for the Mets. 10 fastballs under 89 miles per hour. A 1 or 2 mile per hour dip is one thing, Mitch, but when you're 4 or 5 miles per hour under where you typically are, that is very alarming. But Mitch, I'm going to try to reassure you here, as well as all the listeners and viewers. Don't forget that last year, Shane Bieber was another pitcher here, our ace, a former Cy Young Award winner who had a dip in velocity. And Mitch, by the end of the year, there was no questions or worries with Shane Bieber being on the mound. In fact, it was, why isn't Shane Bieber pitching game 5 of the ALDS against the New York Yankees? Because of how good he pitched in game 2.
Yeah.
What this organization has been able to do with pitchers. I mean, Mitch, the track record speaks for itself, going all the way back to 2014 with Corey Kluber. He wins 2 Cy Young Awards. Kluber, they know when to move off these guys at the right time. They also know when to bring guys up most of the time at the right time. I'm hoping Clase was just kind of working off the cobwebs, also kind of getting used to the pitch clock. I think we're still seeing a lot of pitchers and players getting used to the hitter clock as well as the pitch clock. I'm not going to be too worried yet, but I'm glad you brought that up because it is something to keep an eye on here as we go. The off day, I think, benefits everybody on this 40-man roster and everybody up here at the major league level. But Mitch, these next 6 games are huge because not only do you get to come home and you want to defend your home field, you play Seattle, and you bet they already had it circled on their calendar because you went there and took it to them and you ruined their home opener. They want to come to Cleveland and ruin your home opener now. And I'm very excited for that. And right after that, Mitch, which is very, very odd. Let me just throw that out there. The New York Yankees come to town. When's the last time we played the New York Yankees in April?
This early, yeah.
It's very odd to see it this early, but for everybody out there, make sure you're available on Monday night. Garrett Cole versus Shane Bieber. That is going to be a lot of fun Monday night in Cleveland, but I'm happy where we're at. I think my other issue, Mitch, James Karinchak. What is going on with him? Is it a pitch clock thing? I think it's a pitch clock thing. I think he's in his own head a little bit. We know he can be a head case. There's plenty of stories out there of him coming through minor league baseball from current players on the major league roster. I think he's the biggest factor right now, Mitch, because if you have Karinchak and Clase as your 8 and 9 inning guys, that's one of the better punches in baseball, but he's got to figure something out.
Yeah, he does. And having Trevor Stephan in there as well as potentially a very solid backup need in case Karinchak can't go over the 8th inning. And Eli Morgan has had some very good outings here so far this year. That changeup is looking very, very solid. I mean, you go through the Guardians stuff right now. They are at 5-2 after the Twins dropped a couple of games. So they are currently in first place early on in the season. I mean, we talked about some of this on the earlier episode this week. It's very close in the AL Central right now, but everywhere else kind of feels like teams are separating. The Rays, the last unbeaten team, this team looks very, very good. They're scoring a lot. They're not giving up a lot of runs. Pitching wise, I mean, what is it about this Rays team that's gotten them off to such a great start?
The Rays are doing what we're so accustomed to seeing them do year in and year out, Mitch. I feel like every year it's always the New York Yankees or usually the Boston Red Sox are the talk of the East. This year it was the Blue Jays and the Yankees, and the Rays just kind of fly under the radar. Now, have they played the best teams in baseball? No, they haven't. They played the Detroit Tigers and they played the Washington Nationals. But just like we say in football and any other sport, you can only play who's on your schedule at the right time. They've probably had one of the easiest schedules to open up the season, which means they'll have some tougher games coming up here. I know, like I mentioned, the Guardians have a 6-game stretch coming up here with some tough teams, but then they go to Washington, they go to Detroit, they come back here and play Miami and Colorado. Those are 4 teams that you should be winning the series against. But Mitch, to your point, I believe Tampa has given up the second least amount of runs in all of baseball. Actually, the Twins, who are right behind the Guardians, have only given up 11, but the Rays scoring 44 through their first 6 games and only giving up 13 is quite an impressive feat. We'll see how long this lasts because they have Tyler Glasnow back. Remember, he came back very late last year, made his first start of the season against the Guardians at the end of the regular season, and then came back in the playoffs and started that game 2 of the wild card series against Cleveland. Him and Shane McClanahan, Mitch, are a very, very scary 1-2 punch in the front of the rotation. And we know with Kevin Cash over there and the Rays never really spending money, much like us here in Cleveland, they always find the right pieces and parts to put together and hit the right buttons at the right time. But a 6-0 start, no matter who you've played, is pretty impressive. We'll see how long they can get going or how long this will last.
Indeed. When we come back, we'll be going more over to the other sides of different leagues around the sporting world. We'll also be going into some Masters discussions right after this.
The Furby Electric Supply Company has bright ideas for your home. Save money by converting to energy-efficient electrical products or add ambiance with beautiful lighting features. It begins with a professional consultation and a visit to the Furby Lighting Showroom. Then certified Furby contractors complete your project right and on time. Since 1934, 4 generations have built a reputation of quality and trust, and they offer emergency services too. Just visit Furby.com. That's F-U-R-B-A-Y. The Furby Electric Supply Company.
You asked for it and we listened. Buckeye Career Center is now offering Certified Nail Technician as an adult education program. This 216-hour course begins in November and will run Tuesday through Thursday evenings from 5 to 9 p.m. Learn manicures, pedicures, infection control, salon operations, and more. Other part-time certification courses starting this fall include phlebotomy and welding. Call 330-339-2288 to register or visit BuckeyeCareerCenter.org for more information.
If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car or truck, why not see the Parkway Auto Group? Parkway is a special group of automotive experts with 8 brands to satisfy your needs. Come see the difference at the Parkway Auto Group on Commercial Parkway in Dover. 8 brands and 1 family. It's Parkway Auto Group.
Fall is in the air and part-time career enhancement courses at Buckeye Career Center are on the horizon. Registration is now open for Introduction to Beekeeping, Basic Small Engine Repair, and Sign Language. These part-time offerings run on Tuesday evenings and begin in November. Let Buckeye Career Center help you learn a new skill or advance your current skill set. Call 330-339-2288 for more information or to reserve your seat in one of these or our other part-time classes.
You matter. Everyone plays a part. We all have a role. Each of us can make a difference. You do matter, and the best way to have a positive impact is to pay it forward. With each of us helping one another to cope, feel better, and know that we belong. Pass on the positivity today. Tell someone else they matter too. Alt Care.
Alt Care, Alt Care. Where you matter.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinella and Mitchell Balla. Mitch, we have now almost finalized the entire NBA postseason for the upcoming slate because the Cavaliers most of the East is locked up. We saw the Milwaukee Bucks clinch the 1 seed last night in their victory, but the Cavaliers, our focus will be the 4 seed as expected. They were able to lock it up now at 50 wins and 30 losses. They will be taking on this New York Knicks team that they faced off with 4 times already this season, as we expected. So we have the 4 versus 5 matchup already locked up. We have a couple of ones already in the mix. Actually, right now, I believe the only finalized first round matchup is Cavaliers Knicks, because the other ones have to work with the play-in, and the 6th seed is still up for grabs here in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, Mitch, it's very nice to see the Cavs locked up the 4th seed. Obviously, in the last 3, all they had to have was 1 win or 1 Knicks loss. You looked at the Cavs schedule. If they couldn't have gotten 1 more win, it would have been honestly a failure. You didn't want to back your way into the 4th seed with a Knicks loss if you couldn't beat the Magic 1 or 2 times or the Pacers. And now, Mitch, you already see what's happening tonight. The Cavaliers are resting everybody.
Yeah.
First, the Orlando Magic, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro, who's actually out with an injury. Let's put that out there.
Sure.
Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, and Dylan Windler. But with them doing that, it allows them to rest up a little bit like this. I'm guessing they're probably going to play a little bit when they come home and take on the Charlotte Hornets in the final regular season game at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse on Sunday, because I believe we are still a week away from the playoffs, because the play-in tournament happens first. So it's not like you play Sunday, turn around, you're in action Tuesday. I believe it's Thursday or Friday the Cavaliers will start. But how awesome is it that we get to have playoff basketball back in Cleveland, Ohio? We know how much of a home court advantage it is in terms of just playing in Cleveland. The Cavaliers 30-9 or 31-9 at home this year. And now you add in playoff basketball, the intensity and atmosphere we are so accustomed to seeing for you and I in our entire lifetime. Anytime this Cavs team made the playoffs, obviously with LeBron. Mitch, this has the chance to be the best first round series in terms of going the distance for 7 games, teams stealing wins on the road, and you get to play at Madison Square Garden, and Donovan Mitchell gets to go back home and play. He also, Mitch, has joined exclusive company with 4 consecutive 40-point games. I just have to say, he has been a lot better than I ever could have imagined here as a Cleveland Cavalier. I am just blown away by him every single night. And I'm very excited to see what he does in the playoffs, because, Mitch, we saw what he did in that Utah versus Denver series back in the bubble when he had 2 50-plus point games, a series that they ended up losing to Denver in the playoffs. But this is a guy that's, especially right now, capable of going and get you 40 points any night. And now we get to see Evan Mobley in the playoffs in his 2nd year. We knew the goal for this Cavaliers team was to make the playoffs. But once we got Donovan Mitchell, Mitch, we all agreed the floor is winning a first round playoff series. And I think the Cavs are in a very good spot to be able to accomplish that and move on to the 2nd round. I will say it right now, unless something crazy happens in terms of the Cavs with an injury, I would be stunned if the Cavaliers did not beat the Knicks in the first round of the playoffs. I think it could go 7. I really do. But we'll have to see, because the Knicks are also, are they going to have Julius Randle? If he's back, how healthy is he? It's something to watch, but getting to know, we get to see Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, 2 guards that joined their teams they're on now this offseason. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm just so happy to have playoff basketball back. And a lot of things still aren't finalized yet, Mitch, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and I was looking at that Knicks thing because they've won their last 5 games. Granted, the Cavaliers were the best team they played during that stretch, along the likes of Houston, Washington, Indiana. That being said, they're still going on a bit of a streak, and they'll get Julius Randle back here pretty soon. But the 6 and 7 seeds are still up for grabs right now in the East, because Brooklyn is a game and a half ahead of Miami with 2 games remaining. Well, I guess Miami has 3 games remaining, so there's that. I can't see Brooklyn falling apart like this, but if they do, then Miami would grab that 6th seed, and Brooklyn would be sent to the play-in with the likes of Atlanta, Toronto, and Chicago. I mean, is it really Brooklyn or Miami's play-in to lose if one of those 2 has to go up against the likes of the 3 teams I just mentioned?
I believe so. I really do. I think that the 6 or 7 seed obviously is going to play Philadelphia, but if it's the Nets or the Heat, I would be shocked if either lost to Atlanta in the first playing game, the 7-8 playing game. Atlanta, Mitch, just has not shown me anything at all this year for me to be really worried about them going on that run they did a couple years ago all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know how you feel, but they've just not been the team a lot of people thought they would be after going and getting DeJounte Murray from the Spurs. People thought that move with Trae Young in the backcourt was going to be phenomenal. John Collins there. It just has not worked. We know they had a coaching change with Quinn Snyder coming on as the head coach now in Atlanta. That's a coach that I think could, really help them in the playoffs with the playoff experience he had in Utah. But I do believe that whoever gets the 6th seed between Brooklyn and Miami, the other seed of the 7th seed, I would fully expect to win the first round playing game and then take on the number 2 seed, the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, and either way, Milwaukee, Boston, and Philadelphia are very likely not losing those first round matchups. So we'll be seeing Cavaliers probably as the most hyped up first round series, especially in the East. The West could go either way. The West, I feel like 2, 3, and 4 could get upset if the wrong team slides in. But we had some drama last night where the play-in for the West is still up for grabs because none of the teams are finalized yet. There's even 2 teams still outside the house looking in that could still make it. But in the meantime, there was a battle for Los Angeles last night between the Lakers and the Clippers that Clippers got out and won, and now they're a full game ahead of LA. Clippers have the same record as Golden State. The Lakers have the same record as the Pelicans, and I don't see either of those teams getting back to the regular postseason with 2 games left.
Yeah, I don't either. And obviously, I'm a Cavaliers fan. I'm also a LeBron James fan, so I always do keep an eye on the Lakers. Mitch, that loss to the Lakers last night, I don't think hurts them because I really don't think the Lakers wanted to play Phoenix in the first round. That win last night for the Lakers would have catapulted them above the Warriors, I believe, and
yes,
the Clippers, with still 1 game to play against Phoenix. Now, would they have played everybody against Phoenix? Probably, because they would have still had to win to keep that seed. But
yeah,
call me crazy, I still think the Lakers have a better chance of winning a first round playoff series if they can somehow get the 6th seed and take on Sacramento, or if they take on the Pelicans and win the play-in game and then take on Memphis. Phoenix right now, Mitch, I do not believe they've lost since Kevin Durant has been a member of the Suns.
6 wins in a row.
Exactly. And I believe Kevin Durant teams are now 20-1 in his last 21 games played. Kevin Durant is a major factor on any team he plays for, whether he has only played 6 games for the Suns or not. And a lot of people want to see that because, the Suns and Lakers or the Cavs and the Nets or the Cavs and the Warriors, LeBron and KD have not been on the same floor at the same time since the finals in 2018.
Really? Wow.
But for the Lakers, I think that loss doesn't really hurt them. They're going to get in. They would have to lose their final 2 games, and it would take another combination of a couple teams on the outside looking in right now to win their final 2. So I think the Lakers are fine. But Mitch, the Thunder lost and the Mavericks won.
Yep.
The Mavericks are still alive just by a hair. They have a heartbeat right now. Can they do it, though? We know we already went over the schedule for the Thunder. Their last game is at home versus Memphis, assuming Memphis is going to rest everybody because Memphis has locked up their playoff spot. They just have to win one of their final 2. So if they win their next game, it's very likely they're going to sit their starters that final game, which would be an easier win for Oklahoma City. But don't look now because the Mavericks beat a good Kings team last night.
Yeah.
And the pressure right now, I think, is all on Oklahoma City because we told you who Dallas still plays. And I believe it's the Spurs and the Rockets, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I was going to say Dallas plays Chicago and San Antonio for their next 2 games. So yeah, it's not out of the possibility. The Jazz are still in it. But they're a game and a half back. They'd have to have Oklahoma City and Dallas both lose, I think, in order to make it and then win out or something like that. I mean, I don't know.
Soon, because the Jazz play the Thunder. So if the Jazz beat the Thunder, they're still alive too. But if the Thunder beat the Jazz,
got it. Okay,
that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Dallas will be done, and Oklahoma City will have that head-to-head tiebreaker with 2 games remaining. It'll be over.
That makes sense. Yeah, Phoenix, you mentioned. Phoenix is starting to scare me. I mean, 4 out of their 6 last wins have been against playoff caliber teams and not even borderline teams. They beat the Sixers, they beat the Timberwolves, they beat the Nuggets, they beat the Thunder. And they play the Nuggets again tonight. I'm worried that this is going to be a dangerous 4 seed. And I legit think that could be the team that takes down Denver. And I heard JJ Redick Richard Jefferson talked about this on JJ Redick's podcast. There seems to be and I can't say for sure, we don't know what Denver's actually thinking right now, the players, the coaches, but it seems like there's a lot of pressure on Denver this year to finally make the final, not even just win the championship, make a finals after being the 1 seed for a number of years now. In Coach Mike Malone's 8th year in the league, you've had Nikola Jokic, this 2-time MVP, could be 3-time, even though I think it's going to go to Embiid this year after the 50-some point game he had against Boston, and Doc Rivers said, it's over. The MVP race is over. I mean, what do you think? What do you think about Denver, man? Denver is in a precarious spot right now because they're amazing at home. Could be better on the road. They've been very solid this season, but again, I wonder if they have this matchup against a team like Phoenix or maybe even Sacramento that could just slip them up a little bit. And I don't know why people are kind of underselling that. I know with the whole thing with Ja, but a lot of people are underselling the Grizzlies as a 2 seed this year. It's strange.
I saw the same clip you did from JJ Redick's podcast with Richard Jefferson. I agree entirely. I think they have the most pressure on them in terms of outside noise. Now, like you said, we are not in Denver. We're not Nuggets fans, and we're not the players or coaches. But Mitch, being a top team in the West for a number of years now, having the defending 2-time MVP in Nikola Jokic, like you mentioned, he's going to probably finish second now after Joel Embiid's recent performances. The pressure's there. And to get the 1 seed, especially when you mentioned their home and road record, they're 33-7 at home, which means go 7, they're going to have the luxury of being at home. And we know it's a hard place to play, not only because of their fans in the arena, but also the altitude does play a big factor, especially when you're playing basketball, running back and forth up and down the court. But I am sure they do not want any part of Phoenix. I don't think Phoenix will be able to stop Jokic, but everywhere else in the court, Mitch, I don't know who's going to stop Devin Booker for the Nuggets. And I don't know who could even have a chance to slow down Kevin Durant. And the more and more you look at this now, as things are starting to get set in stone, the Phoenix Suns, to me, Mitch, I think are the favorite, or should be the favorite, to come out of the West because of what we've seen now with Kevin Durant back, assuming he's, fully healthy or close to being fully healthy. They look scary, and that's exactly why Phoenix made that move. Obviously, earlier in our series with the podcast, I had said I was picking Denver to go to the finals. I think I said take on Milwaukee. I fully believe that Milwaukee can still win the East, but I definitely have my doubts with Denver, especially how they've kind of come into the home stretch here in the regular season. It just has not been great. Their last 10, they're 6-4. You mentioned they lost their last game, but we'll have to see. Can Jokic as a center really help propel this team? Because we haven't really seen a center dominate and carry a team since Shaquille O'Neal, but even then he had Kobe Bryant.
No, I mean, we've had centers like Embiid even that could lead Philadelphia's offense, but I do understand your sentiment of like dominating in terms of a playoff run. Philadelphia's going to have probably the second most stress from the outside too, because it's like Philadelphia, what's going to happen now? You got rid of Simmons, you got Harden, you got all this. Can you do it now? But granted, the competition atop the East is stronger. I mean, Milwaukee's still probably the top favorite, and then Boston's a sneaky number 2. Okay, so we'll go into the final segment here right after these messages on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Are you trying to increase your speed, quickness, vertical leap, and agility? If so, NST Sports Performance is for you. NST trains athletes ages 5 through pro. NST designs each program specific to the athlete's needs, goals, and sports. For more, visit nstsports.com. Locations in North Canton and New Philadelphia. It's nstsports.com.
It takes a lot of practice to have a winning team. Albin Title has over 100 years of combined experience handling real estate, title, and escrow transactions. They serve Tuscarawas, Stark, Carroll, Harrison counties, and more. So choose Albin Title for your next home refinance, sale, or purchase. They'll get it done quickly and professionally. Contact Albin Title at 330-334-5800 or visit their website albintitle.com. Let them put their experience to work for you.
Hard work is something you're accustomed to. Van Nostrand Young understands that principle. Our access is achieved with organizations like Grange Insurance. Safety and prevention specialists utilize our VanCan assessments process to ensure that you and your colleagues are in the best hands. You want the safest environment for your business, and we can guide you there.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
If you're purchasing a new home, the team at Hartzler's Quality Housing is here to help. Take advantage of record low interest rates to make your new home a reality. Locally owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's Quality Housing has the experience to guide you through the process. You'll find a wide selection of model homes on site to fit any budget. Open 6 days a week just off I-77. You can also visit them online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level up. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Get out of the dugout and onto the field with help from Velocity Sports. Velocity Sports is a baseball and softball training academy with locations in North Canton and Canal Fulton. Our new Canal Fulton features 10,000 square feet of training space with 6 cages for hitting and pitching and a large commercial weight room. Velocity Sports will sharpen your skills and get you in the starting lineup. For more info, go to velosportsohio.com.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell and Mitchell Balla. Mitch, it's another great weekend. We just came off of the Final Four weekend, and it is now time for what is one of my personal favorite weekends of the year, Masters weekend, because now we get to see some of the top players coming to Augusta National in Georgia. I am aware that you are not the largest of golf fans, but I can imagine that you can get behind a weekend like this where it seems very synonymous, even if you're not the most hardcore golf fan.
Oh, no doubt about it, Mitch, because it's such a prestigious event. It happens one time a year, and you get to see the best of the best. And not only that, everybody loves Tiger Woods for the most part. I always love to see how he, competes here. Obviously got off to a little bit of a rocky start. Looks like he may have found something here as the first round of the Masters is going on. I love Tiger Woods, and I just enjoy watching the best golfers go at it for the most prestigious major, if we're being honest here, and getting a green jacket and ultimately, having that forever. We got to see Jack Nicklaus tee off this morning, as all the former Master winners do. It's just very cool. And I also really enjoy seeing what the Masters winner the next year does for their dinner. Because it's always very cool to see what they like to eat, what they think, everybody will like, or what their favorite food is and everything. So I really enjoy that. But no, I mean, I have there's golfers I like to follow, Max Homa being one of them. I really enjoy Max Homa. He's fun. He's young. Rory McIlroy is another great golfer in our lifetime. But no, I really enjoy the Masters, and on Sundays during the Masters, I always make sure I can watch a little bit, if not all of it, when it comes around. And so, with it being Easter Sunday this week or weekend, I'll definitely be able to sit down and watch the end of the Masters.
I'm watching it right now. Tiger is currently 2 over after 8 holes, so it's kind of in that mix of, you're just trying to recover your round as best as you can. Victor Hovland is out in front right now, 4 under after 8 holes on the opening round. Shane Lowry and the likes of Patrick Reed and Adam Scott right behind him. Adam Scott won the Masters 10 years ago. Wow, now I'm thinking about it. Some unique names in there. Sergio Garcia right now is tied for 7th after a -1 start through 12. And then Scotty Scheffler, the reigning champion, is currently warming up before his tee off time in just a couple of minutes at the time we are recording this. I like that you brought up the Masters menu because I was going to bring that up as well. It's always a very fun one for me. And Scheffler has this year a very particular menu it's pretty simple and kind of it's not the fanciest, so to say, but it's probably a good one. He's got cheeseburger sliders, you got firecracker shrimp in there, tortilla soup, you got some Texas ribeyes, blackened redfish, with a whole bunch of other stuff, and then a skillet cookie in there. That's very nice. The one I always bring up is Tiger's first win, because I believe that was the first year where a winner actually requested he had cheeseburgers, chicken sandwiches, and French fries. And before that, French fries had never been served at Augusta National. So that's a very fascinating sort of thing here. It seems like with all these menus, you have around 4 to 5 choices for your requests. So Mitchell Bala, I need to know your 4 let's say main courses, and then your 1 dessert that you would go for a Masters chance. Let's say Mitch Bala took up golfing one day and got really good. It was like the beginning of Happy Gilmore, where he's able to go onto the tour just somehow, and he gets the Masters, he wins it. I need to know what the following year Mitchell Bala returns to Augusta and puts on that menu for the rest of the members to eat.
Wow, that's a great question. So I will have to start, and now people are going to kind of understand some of my favorite foods.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a quesadilla. Now, what I would put in there, I don't know. Quesadilla, though, Mitch, to me is one of the best and most versatile foods there is out there, because you can have a breakfast quesadilla. And I think I'd probably lean that way too. Maybe do a little bit egg sausage quesadilla in there.
Okay.
Some people like breakfast for dinner. That would definitely be on there. I'm a big sliders guy, like we saw on the menu this year. So I would put that in there. I loved the menu this year, by the way. There wasn't much I wouldn't eat besides fish. I don't enjoy fish.
Me neither.
I would probably look at the soup is a nice touch by Scheffler. I love tortilla soup. I would probably look at some chicken main course, how I would have it prepared. I'm not really sure if you'd want to do like a grilled chicken off the Barbie, something like that. You typically see it, like Outback, or a chicken Parmesan or something. Probably served with a pasta, maybe like a mezzaluna type that's kind of cheese filled. That I would say that probably those, it would be very basic, but I love food. I don't typically like to go all out. At the same time, though, I do love a good steak. I don't know many people that don't like a nice steak. Dessert wise, Mitch, I don't know. I love anything sweet, baked goods, chewy candy, chocolate candy. Maybe we get a little extravagant here and have an ice cream bar, not just like an ice cream sundae, an ice cream bar, to see who could make the best sundae out of the ice cream bar, out of all the people at the dinner at the Masters.
Yeah, they've had that a few times. Certain flavors they've been able to request at Augusta. I mean, it was looking through some of the menus right here. I believe just a few years ago, there was some guy who, and I can't remember exactly, but he had a few different flavors of ice cream that people could go between. I mean, it's such a strange thing for me because I think I kind of messed it up. I think it looks like it's 2 appetizers or appetizer dishes. You get 1, maybe 2 or 3, and then you get the main course, and then you get the dessert. So I think I'd have to go. You really put some thought into this, because mine is basically just going to be a whole bunch of nonsense. So I think I'm going to go with if I had to choose appetizers, I'd probably go with some form of Mexican. So we have like a chips and salsa dish, or like a loaded chips and salsa dish. So to start out, and then on the other side, I could be looking at some sort of I mean, if I had to really choose some sort of mac and cheese dish, lobster mac and cheese specifically, because you got to get some sort of meat in there for people to not just get used to the cheese and the pasta. As far as the rest of it goes, the sliders thing is a good idea. I think I'd probably go with some sort of chicken slider, whether it's grilled or fried, but then that clashes with my main course, which I'd probably go with a fried chicken thing. And if I didn't have to do that, I'd probably go with some sort of filet mignon, a steak type. And for dessert, I really like red velvet cake, so maybe like a red velvet cake with some sort of ice cream on the side just to be able to offset the richness. But yeah, that would be my Masters menu if I were to be able to come back after winning the championship. And I mean, that's another thing too. The championship obviously is the biggest part of the tournament, and we've seen a number of champions come throughout the years. Were there any particular runs that you remember that really caught your eye? Because I have a few coming up after yours.
I mean, how could it not be Tiger? I mean,
yeah,
Tiger obviously to me is the first one, because I think that's the first one on the importance of it and being able enough to remember. It's Tiger up top for me. It's so hard to piece together the winners from the other past 5-6 years, but I mean, it's always going to be Tiger for me at the top.
Which particular run? Are you talking about his recent run? Are you talking about his first championship? Are you talking about the one during the Tiger Slam? Any particular moments?
Tiger Slam to me, when he really put himself up there as the best golfer in the world. Some argued after that the best golfer ever, up there with Jack Nicklaus. The Tiger Slam to me is the one that really sits atop my list.
That was a good one. That was a good one. The first one actually was when my mother was pregnant with me, and she legitimately almost named me Tiger. But it was going to be Tyger. And my parents eventually thought, you know what, that's probably going to be too much, so we're going to call him Mitch. But no, 2019, I remember being the one where after that third day, you wondered if he was going to be able to hold on competitively, because his body had been starting to break down. And I believe this was before the car accident, but it was one where I was like, okay, can you keep it going? Just keep it going. And then you get that birdie on 16, and then you get to the final two holes. When you see that final stroke go in, and Jim Nantz mentions the return to glory, that was the one where that's the closest in the 4 since then, maybe even before then, that I've legitimately been brought to tears by a sporting event. I didn't cry, but that was a wave of relief and euphoria that I've only felt maybe since the Cavaliers championship when they won the finals. That was a good one, and I'm happy to have seen that come out or come to be in real time. So that's a good one. And then we're hoping for another good tournament this year. So that is all the time we have here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show, and we thank you guys so much for watching. I want to know Mitchell Balla's fact of the day.
Mitch, the fact of the day, with all the nice weather we're having here, I don't know. We're so accustomed to here in Ohio having, late winter. So since it's so hot out here, I figured we might as well talk a little bit of cold action to maybe, offset Mother Nature here. The coldest temperature ever recorded was negative 144 degrees Fahrenheit in Antarctica, I believe, in 2018.
Makes sense.
Pretty
Makes
cool.
sense, yeah. Because I can't imagine any of the rudimentary measuring of that time of past would be able to sustain the technology. Like once you get to like minus 100, that thing has to just be cracking and not functioning properly. And makes sense that it's in Antarctica. I was assuming it was going to be minus 100, but I can't imagine being able to breathe in minus 144. That has to be the most painful thing possible. I'm not all for that, but I am all for you guys listening or watching the Big Time Sports Podcast Show.